Topic number 4, welterweight title picture. Got really interesting last week when Jorge Masvidal told MMA Junkie Radio that he has, quote, insider information that if he beats Gilbert Burns on April 8th at UFC 287, he will get the title shot, not Colby Covington. Now, we already know that champion Leon Edwards wasn't thrilled about UFC President Dana White making that announcement immediately after UFC 286. Dana doesn't make fights on the nights of events, just FYI. Well, this past Saturday, White doubled down when he was asked about Edwards' defiance and presented with other options. And he's calling Colby Covington a, quote, no-brainer. Hello? Bilal Muhammad, anyone? Bilal Muhammad. Anyways, guys, what do you think about Masvidal's insider info claim? And really, why do you think Dana is so convinced that Colby is the guy? Mike, we're going to start this with you.
Well, I guess to answer the first question, at least Masvidal is doing some work in promoting the fight here, whether that insider information comment is true or not. Dana White kind of poured cold water all over the Masvidal versus Burns matchup by announcing Colby Covington as the number 1 contender. Like, can we not just wait another week and a half and see what happens, at least to allow that fight to play out? And, maybe Jorge Masvidal goes in there and gets, dominated and submitted in the first or second round. Then we're all like, okay, whatever. Colby Covington makes a lot more sense. But for them to not even leave the door open a little bit for those guys to do something spectacular, especially Masvidal, that seems very confusing to me. And I guess to answer the second question, I don't know why Dana White is so adamant to have Colby Covington as the guy. I mean, it's really perplexing to me. He threw it out there to the media, like, can you guys explain to me why he doesn't deserve the shot? I don't understand. And I think there is a strong case to be made of why he doesn't. I mean, even if you put Bilal Muhammad aside, we've talked about this before, the fact that Colby Covington hasn't beat a fighter coming off a win in the UFC since he beat Rafael Dos Anjos for the interim belt in 2018. His last 3 wins, Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley, Jorge Masvidal, all entered their fights on multiple losses. So,
all on the decline.
How you can say that he just deserves it. I mean, Dana White, just come out and tell the truth. We think Colby Covington is the biggest selling name. He is the guy that's going to promote the fight the hardest, and he is going to make it a big deal. But don't put out this rhetoric that he deserves it. No one in the UFC deserves anything. I hate that word in MMA, but Colby Covington of all people, if you want to give it to him and you think he's the right fight to make, sure, but don't be like, he deserves it above all these other guys. No one has a resume that can stack up to him. I mean, we can all see right through that, and it doesn't make sense, and it's not the argument to make. So if I was him, I would have approached it a little bit differently and be like, hey, we think this is the one we want to do. It's our promotion, our way of matchmaking. And I think you can say things about Bilal Muhammad. I think he is missing that one really signature win. I'd like to see him get, one more on there. Does he have to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov? I mean, that's a tough ask, but there's some other fights out there you could do for him. And if he wins, then, he's undeniable at that point. And you could have put him in there right now, but I get it. Is Bilal Muhammad going to move the needle in a significant way for a title fight with Leon Edwards? No, I don't think so. Colby Covington, obviously the bigger fight. And we know this isn't a meritocracy. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm shocked or outraged. I just don't like the reasoning that they're using to give Colby Covington, because it's not accurate. He doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, just don't bullshit us. And one of the things that I found was interesting from Dana White's post-fight scrum was when he said, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said this before, if it wasn't for Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington would be the welterweight champion right now. Well, how do you know that? How could you even make that claim?
And you're basing it off 2 close fights with him when you're talking about him fighting the champion who actually beat Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, and it's on the heels of a declining Robbie Lawler and a declining Tyron Woodley and a lightweight Rafael Dos Anjos. Dude, just stop it. Anyways, Nolan, what say you on all this?
Yeah, I think Mike framed it perfectly and Dana framed it terribly. I think in no world is this a black or white scenario where you should say that it's outlandish that anybody except Colby Covington would get a title shot. I mean, to me, if Dana sat up there and said, we think that Colby is the toughest test for Leon. We think that he's the best fighter without a belt. We think he'll sell the most pay-per-views. Those are all answers that I think you can at least have that conversation about. But for me, to kind of dismiss everything else that's going on in this division, it never seems smart to me to necessarily do that. Like, I think it kind of, what happens when Dana tries to sell Bilal versus Leon next or whatever? Like, does he just change, or Bilal versus Colby? Is he just going to change tune and start hyping up Bilal, or exactly what's going to go on there? So I think it just kind of hurts the whole situation when it's so black or white, or so adamant, or, not just dismissive of anybody else's ideas. And so for me, it is what it is. It's unfortunate. I understand, like, again, we've seen this a million times. There's no consistency, right? This isn't, like I said earlier, this isn't a merit-based system. I would love to see Bilal get the next title shot. If it was a perfect world and I was in charge and I didn't have to worry about any fight promotion or money or anything, you would be the guy that I would put in there easy. So for me, I mean, it's not surprising. It's unfortunate that there is this sort of tone that comes with booking a fight like this, but I mean, we've seen this before, so it shouldn't really come as a major surprise to anybody.
No, stuff like this is seemingly never a surprise. It's just disappointing. Anyways, go ahead and come on. I know you've got to have some insider information here for us. Come on, man. Why is Dana so hung up on Colby?
My blood is boiling right now. Somebody buy Mike Bond a beer, by the way. I love your passion. I agree with a lot of what he said. He's right. Dana White shouldn't be speaking to everybody this way. We're not all idiots. Sometimes you could just come out and kind of lay out the truth. And if you did it every now and again, I don't think people would have a problem with it. The problem is the consistency here. I know I lay this out just about every week on the show, but the consistency. You got Beneil Dariush in another division that's kind of going through something similar. So the world doesn't have to be perfect, but it does kind of have to make sense at times. And right now, this move probably doesn't make too much sense. He told us he has a million reasons why Colby Covington should get that shot. But what's tripping me out is you never give us one reason why Bilal Muhammad shouldn't have the shot. That's what we're all waiting for. That's what Bilal Muhammad's waiting for. And that's arguably what the rest of the staff is probably waiting to hear, because they're invested in this too. They want to know, if I win how many fights, what do I have to do to get my shot? Because a lot of people are building the foundations of their lives, their families, on these types of statistics. They need to know what it is they need to do to become a champion. And if we don't really know what that is, then this is a pretty shitty job, guys. It really, really is. 8 fights is so difficult to do in any division. Even the divisions that we kind of shit on earlier today, 8 fights is difficult to do. It should get you a title shot. And at the very least, it should get you an explanation as to why you didn't get one. And I don't think we've gotten that from Dana White. So that's what's driving me crazy. And beer to Nolan King too, and Simon Samaya. Beer's all around, man.
Let's go. Yeah, guys. That's the thing. And this is what bums me out. Like, the most money you can make as a prize fighter in the UFC apparently would be being champion. You get pay-per-view points, right? Like, that's where things kick in for you. You win 8 fights in a row, and I believe 3 of those in Bilal Muhammad's situation, the last 3 have been against ranked opposition. I mean, what more do you have to do? He's got to fight Shavkat still to get that shot. I just, that just doesn't sit well. Well, it doesn't sit well with me. But hey, man, it is what it is. I love that. I love that Goes will say, Dana, at least just say it. At least make it make sense to us. Stop feeding us bullshit.
Yeah, and I mean, him sitting up there too and being like, well, Leon Edwards sat out for 2 years and he got the title shot. Well, not really. He took the fight against Bilal and Nate Diaz, and then he had 3 canceled fights against Hamzat. Like, it's not like he was just sitting on his hands being like, I refuse to fight anyone unless it's a title. It's circumstantial, and Dana White's using that against him, more or less. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this ultimately plays out, because how hard is Leon Edwards willing to dig in against this fight? Colby Covington's out there doing interviews saying if he doesn't accept the fight, he's going to be stripped. And I would have liked to see that, asked to Dana White, like, okay, if Leon won't really take this, how far is this going to go? Because that's the next step here, right? Like, we're past the point of reproach. It's not like we're going to sit there in front of Dana. He's going to be like, you know what, guys? Like, you are right. I don't think Colby's next. I think Bilal Muhammad's going to get it. We're just going to reverse course. Like, that is their plan now. And it's what's going to happen from here, and who's going to be willing to dig their feet in. And if Leon Edwards, gets that huge payday for Colby Covington, then we should all be happy for him at least. if they can make it worth his while to a point where he's comfortable. So hopefully that's the end game.
Hey, I'm
what
what
a turnaround. Huh? I'm just sitting here thinking, you guys remember when Colby said something along the lines of that he was going to, if Dana had wrapped the belt around him, he was going to take it off him and hit him over the head with it? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
With the RDA fight? It's come a long way, huh?
We have.
Yeah, when he filmed him gambling in the casino and put it out on Instagram Live. So, yeah, there's something funky going on there. And you obviously, heard Dana at the press conference. He's like, it's not like I'm like, oh, Colby, I love Colby or anything. But clearly there's something going on where there is some sort of love for the guy because they feel undeniably that he is next.
Sorry, guys. The chat has me laughing right now. George, first of all, if Dana was running the March Madness tournament, he'd eliminate these teams in now and bring in Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, and UCLA. Of course, San Diego State, my Aztecs, FAU, and Miami don't exactly sell tickets, and UConn don't exactly sell basketball tickets. And I just love that there's a Dana White account. Why are you guys talking about me? MMA Junkie was never my friend.
You know what's insane, you guys, is even Bilal Muhammad, if you give him Shavkat and he wins that fight, that doesn't guarantee anything.
It really doesn't.
Really doesn't.
That's the shitty thing because
as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, because if Colby wins against Leon and Conor McGregor beat
Conor, yeah.
We know exactly where this whole thing is going.